Welcome to Werezilla's Retrospective. I'm your host, Werezilla. Now that the year is wrapped up, I decided to do something very special. You've talked to me a lot over the years, and so I'm going to look at a few of those comments, because really, that's the best kind of gift you could possibly have given me.
It's also a way to get out of actually doing a review.
Jumpster, if you ever undermine anything I say again, I will hurt you. I will hurt you in ways that mortal beings cannot possibly comprehend. Do I make myself clear?
Yep.
Now, let us begin where this show began, with Headmasters. Our first comment comes from Aspiring Creator. Aspiring Creator writes, "Say, this was a fan subbed. I find it highly unlikely that the dialogue is actually that crass, and that was most likely a choice made by the fan subbers to have cursing to make everything seem more adult. Now, to be fair, swearing in Japan is pretty normal, but there definitely isn't as much variety with curses as there is here." Aspiring Creators, of course, referring to my surprise when this line came up. This is a sound point. In fact, when it was officially subtitled by Shout Factory, the vulgarity was replaced with more Transformer-esque terms like scrap, slag, vector sigma, spark, that sort of thing. I have watched some more subtitled Japanese shows since then, and I've seen similar language in those. Sometimes I recognize the audio, but the subtitles have a different translation, i.e., one will have a character say, "You bastard," while another will just say, "You." I've also seen the Japanese dub of the first few minutes of More Than Meets the Eye, the first episode of the original Transformers, and there's swearing included that wasn't present in the original episode. While I could say it's more a translation issue, I think Aspiring Creator is right about being an attempt to be more adult. I would like to say that's an unneeded action, but I am aware that some people see animation and think, "Kid stuff that's beneath me." This is ignoring that animation has given us some really great films and TV shows over the years where they didn't need to throw in random swearing to make it mature. Evan Troy writes, "Wow, kid, did you ever grow up? Is there such a thing as Transformer? No, it's just a cartoon. What difference does it make if there is freaking air or other crap they drawn? They took your time? Please, you had nothing better to do than watch TV. I mean, you could read a book or do sports. And now you complain about a cartoon? What, no one gives you attention?" This is a non-argument if I've ever heard one. I'm not going to accuse Evan Troy of being mad at me because he liked Headmasters, not when this kind of comment appears on every person's channel in an attempt to tear them down. It ties back with my last comment about animation being seen as only for kids. Great Saya Kirby writes, "I find it funny that Scorponok starts off all cunning and calculated, but as soon as he spares Fortress Magnum for no good reason, he becomes an even more stupid villain than Megatron was at his worst and most incompetent. I've thought more about Scorponok turning on Six Shot in the last fourth of the series, and I've come to a conclusion that it was just to pad out the series for a few more episodes. They clearly wanted Six Shot to be a wild card since the start, but they couldn't come up with a natural way for it to happen, so they had Scorponok suddenly betray him. Which leads to nothing since Six Shot doesn't try to get revenge. He just says he's leaving and that's it. In hindsight, I probably should have said this arc was as pointless as the traversing across the galaxy in search of Energon arc. Both Jukebox Dude 97 and Dusty 1984 argue that when Clemens tells Ripley that Newt was unconscious when she drowned in her stasis pod, he is actually lying to her. The former even argues that he was referring to when the ship crashed, not the actual drowning part. A fair point, although I'm inclined to think that if that was the case, maybe we shouldn't have been shown the image of Newt's body in the pod. Our next comment comes from Michael Elms. Michael Elms writes, "All of your complaints are pretty much irrelevant since you are either wrong about them or they aren't problems and you just don't like them personally. Check your facts for future reviews. I mean, the making of featurette on the DVD cancels out most of your issues. I wish David Fincher didn't get slammed for this movie. It wasn't his fault. The editing and changes they made to this movie are what made it so bad. The assembly cut was much better and the way it was meant to be." I don't remember slamming Fincher in the original video. I said he disowned the film and I can't say I blame him. Never said it was his fault the movie sucks. Fisher's a pretty good director overall, and I hold no ill will to him personally for this movie.
They are monstrous, they are ghoulish, all resistance would be foolish. Spaceballs are coming, so beware!
The Voice Man writes, I think you missed the point of the show. You already missed the really good ones like Fish Finger and the one parodying, seriously, the Titanic. I have watched all the cartoon Spaceballs and love them all. This is complicated. Well, on the one hand, I did not find anything about the Spaceballs cartoon funny in the least. I don't see why someone would find it funny, but if they did, yeah, well, that's just like, your opinion, man. No, seriously, let's not get into a fight over this. It's not worth it. Next up is Lavira Mira. Never good with names. Lavira writes, I have to agree. I think Werezilla is missing the point. Being a big Family Guy fan, I can tell you the series suffers from all kinds of continuity issues, but I don't hear whining complaining about that. Spaceballs is supposed to be a parody. So what if it doesn't line up with the movie? It's Mel Brooks, Daphne Zugna, and Joan Rivers. That's enough for me. This comment was made before my review of the Family Guy Star Wars specials, where I point out how continuity can ruin a joke, especially when it's hard to laugh at a joke if it doesn't make sense. But I don't hold that against them. They couldn't have known I would go into greater detail about this topic in a later video. As for Brooks, Zugna, and Rivers being involved in the show, well, that just makes it worse. Brooks in particular made me hate this show even more since it was self-congratulation of the highest regard on his part, turning Scroob into one of my least favorite villains in the process. There are way too many comments to go through, but for what it's worth, a lot of people disagreed with my review. I had no idea the 70s Kong had as many fans as it does. That doesn't mean I'm going to backpedal. I still don't like this movie, but I'm not going to throw around insults at people who disagree with me. I can't help but notice the film's successful profits were sourced as a reason why it's good. Well, that's perfectly reasonable from a business standpoint, as the film industry is, well, an industry. Profit outweighs critical reception. I wish that wasn't the case, but that's just how it works. Film is art, and art is something that should be expressed regardless of how much money it makes. And that, of course, also means it shouldn't be exempt from criticism. Many were quick to point out Peter Jackson's 2005 version was no masterpiece either, which again is valid, as long as it sticks to talking about the work itself. Because really, what does personal attacks actually accomplish? Other than silencing them? Nothing. Because it's not winning an argument, or continuing the discussion. It's a waste of time. Mr. Awake to Me writes, really? You actually like the opening to Super God Master Force, but you're complaining about Headmasters? Are you for real? And I like that Cosmic Mind responded to this with, it's cause it reminds him of the Zoo Ranger theme. While the tune does have similarities with Zoo Rangers, the reason why I like Master Force's theme more is because it fits with the Transformers in its lyrics and visuals. Headmasters felt like it could belong for any show, really. Another commenter in a different video mentioned that the composer for Headmaster's theme also did Jetman's theme. I will admit, Jetman's theme is trendy, but that doesn't really negate my point. Marion Disney writes, well, were you right about Chaos's mother? I was partially right. Chaos's mother did appear in the following Skylanders game, Swap Force, and she may have been presented as the more competent and powerful threat. She was ultimately not the darker, more serious threat I was hoping for. She even gets taken out in the second-to-last boss fight, though I will admit one of the gameplay mechanics of taking a Skylander off the portal platform to reveal her location was clever. BVids94 writes, wow, I have to say this is a good review. And I'm not saying that because I still like the movie and the show, as it's for a younger audience, and I understand that. I really feel this was a good, constructive, well-put-together critique of the movie and the franchise in general. Excellent job. Thanks, BVids94. This is what I was getting at when I mentioned the show is treated with scorn by many people. This is a show for kids, and it's not really hurting any of them, so why is it treated like one of the worst things ever? Beats me. powerful girl writes, "Why are you calling Akira and Kai gay? Akira and Kai are not gay. Akira is a girl." Sorry to say this, but while Akira is one of the many Japanese names that can be used by men and women alike, no. Both these characters are male. In fact, a lot of characters in Transformers are male, something IDW Comics just rolled with when it came to same-sex relationships. And the fans, of course, have been doing this for much longer than IDW. Keith Blava writes, "I never finished RID, only made it halfway through, but it was an alright series. Personally, I thought it was more tolerable than Armada. In the series, Koji didn't have a lot of screen time, being absent for quite a lot of episodes. In the Armada, human cast always felt shoehorned in and were annoying and worthless. The Autobots and Predacons were alright, but I'm surprised you didn't mention the human Kelly, as she acted like the human Waspinator all the time." Well, I didn't bring up Kelly because I didn't feel there was much to add to the review by mentioning her. Though I will say it did seem a bit odd that she was constantly freaked out by the Autobots, since in Robots in Disguise, ironically, they don't actively try to hide their presence from the world. As for their comments about comparing Hoji with the human characters in Armada, well, I gotta give it to you, Kiva Blava. You were right down prophetic as to what I would say about them in the following year.
Transformers, robots in disguise. Transformers, Energon.
Oh boy, this one's confusing. And it comes from Lynx the Predacon. Lynx the Predacon writes, "Werezilla, Energon, Scorponok, and Skybite are my buddies, so I'm going to send an army of Prime Predacons and rebuild Seacons and an army of Dinobots, and they'll all power link with Minicons, and I have a spy named Chop Shop in your midst, and he'll turn off your defenses, so if you say anything bad about Transformers Cybertron characters I like, so beware, they will be there at the end of your 6th anniversary, so beware and fear the Predacons."
What?
Get out. No!
I'm not even sure what Lynx's problem is. Skybite and Energon's version of Scorponok were my favorite characters from their respective shows, so I don't know why he picked those two specifically. Although on the subject of characters we like and ones we don't, I asked you who was the worst character, Chrome Dome from Headmasters or Kicker from Energon. You, my viewers, unanimously agreed the answer was Kicker. Now, I myself remain undecided, but I'm not really surprised by your decision. Back in the Armada retrospective, I mentioned the Unicron trilogy's wider release meant more people would see it than the Takara trilogy. I do find it very satisfying you all came to a common consensus based on your own experiences with Energon and really the entire Unicron trilogy as a whole. I mean, I like hearing when I got people thinking. I also like it when you have familiarity with what I'm reviewing, making your own conclusions, instead of just parodying whatever I said. So what was the point of all this? Why did I look back on all these comments? Because it's how we can talk with each other. The reason I don't reply to comments in the comments section is because I feel like it's not my place. A comment section is for you, my viewers. I appreciate all of you, from regular followers to one-timers, to the ones who like what I have to say, to the ones who lost their patience with me only after a few minutes.
I don't have the biggest following on YouTube, not even close. But I appreciate every single one of you who do watch. So have a happy new year, have a better 2017 than you did 16, and I gotta find that Chop Shop guy. Where is he?